This video is a continuation of my Jane Doe 2 video, which I put out yesterday. So this is looking at an account by Truckee local teen Elsa, who attended the party and who recorded her account, which she then gave to another YouTube creator called Olivia. As I mentioned in the previous video, this was originally released with the voice altered to disguise the voice. I noticed a few people made the point in the comments section of my last video, why do you need to disguise your voice if there's nothing untoward that happened? Good question. Anyway, so this was originally released with the voice altered. I personally can't stand listening to altered voices when they're like really low and gravelly, so I re-altered the voice myself, so it's back up to a more of a normal pitch. I will point out something with this, and that is that while I have altered it back up to a normal pitch, that is not necessarily the original pitch of her voice. So it's more about making it more listenable. So it would be hard to say that she sounds like somebody else because, like I said, that's not necessarily the original pitch at which the recording was made. She may have a slightly higher voice, she may have a slightly lower voice. I basically aimed for tempo, as in spoken speed. I wasn't really worrying about whether or not I was trying to create an exact match for the original recording. Anyway, if you haven't caught the first half of this, it doesn't matter if you watch this and then go and look at it, because I broke the recording in a spot where it could be two standalone recordings. So this goes from another point in her narrative, but you're not missing anything if you haven't listened to the first one first. Okay, let's go for it.
At 12:30, the crowd had shrunk a lot. I didn't know almost anyone there other than like a couple friends in my ride home, and a boy had pulled his car onto the dirt road, like the main road to get in and out of Sanctuary, and there were boys yelling and screaming at each other like in an aggressive way, not like a fun way, next to the car. So pretty much anyone that was there anymore had crowded around that car because they were trying to see if they were going to fight, if they needed to break something up. But one ended up climbing on top of the car and standing on top of it while the other one got in and started playing music from it. There was a subwoofer in the back of the car and all the doors were open so you could hear it because there wasn't any music playing at that point. People were angry because there wasn't any music.
I have issues with this whole story. First of all, she's saying that by 12:30 she barely knew anyone there. So if random kids have rocked up and parked the car somewhere and there's some big hellish fight going on, wouldn't you decide that was time to leave? Question. So she's saying that everyone that was still there went over to where this car was. But then she's talking about it not so much as being a fight, but them having their music really, really loud and they had a subwoofer going. So at that point in the narrative, she's forgotten about the fight that she introduced. Interesting thing to note here, it's all very factual. I would expect from a teenager who's describing being at a party where they didn't really know a lot of people and where they suddenly experienced these strange boys who were being really loud and rowdy and apparently fighting, that you would expect to hear a description of how she felt about the situation. Was she scared? Was she feeling okay because she was with her male friends? There's no emotional connection to this fight, which I think is the thing that makes me question it. Because I would have imagined that if something like that happened, that was significant enough that she's bringing it up now in this description, that there would be an emotional reaction of some sort to this fight. And that as part of her account, she would say, it was kind of scary, made me want to leave the party, or I thought they just looked like a bunch of dickheads and they sounded like a bunch of turkeys. There's no reaction to it on an emotional level. It's just odd to me. The other thing that makes me question it is that she's like, oh, they had subwoofers going, they had all the doors open making loud music. Okay, so we have these people who gave an account of they were staying at the area and they were questioned by FBI and they had said that there'd been a mass exodus at 12:30. But there's no reports of any loud music at 12:30 at night from the area. Don't forget too that this area where they were partying, while it does seem fairly open, fairly isolated, there's a whole subdivision just through the trees there. Are you telling me that kids were pumping out really loud music with a subwoofer at 12:30 at night and nobody from that subdivision called the police to say there's a really loud party happening over at Prosser? I actually find that hard to buy. I think that if this did happen in the way that she's describing it, that we would have heard accounts long before 10th of September or whenever it was that she did this recording. It was around that date. But we would have heard accounts of people saying about the really, really loud music at 12:30 at night at Prosser. No one has said anything about this. So it does make me question it quite a lot.
Because that road was blocked by the car, no one could have driven in the direction of the Y intersection unless they had parked down there, which personally I didn't see anyone leaving at that point.
I know that there's people who now accept this account as being fact, that the Y intersection was blocked. But here's the thing, the thing that gets me with this whole narrative. First of all, there is a video which I did which has a look at the claim that there was only one way in and one way out from the party. And in that video, I actually show you multiple different routes in and out from that party. And if you're looking at that Y intersection, there are different routes from that spot where kids could leave. If these are local kids, they're going to know those exits. And if this is meant to infer that, well, perhaps that's why Kiely ended up in the water, here's the thing. Kiely used to go riding around that whole area on ATVs. So she would know the different exits from that whole Prosser area. So there's no reason, just because a Y intersection was blocked, that she would end up heading for the water. If she's done the area on ATVs, then she's going to be pretty intimate with it. She's going to know the other exits from the area, and she's going to head for one of those other exits. So if that's what the inference is by saying about the Y intersection being blocked, I don't buy it. I also don't think that it's going to deter any kids from the area from leaving, because like I said, there were multiple exits available. But I think most importantly from this, Elsa seems to have missed out on the account from the people who actually were interviewed by FBI and who came out and publicly said that there was a mass exodus of cars at 12:30. Because she's here saying that this event happened at 12:30, so there was no one actually leaving, or she saw no one actually leaving. And maybe they took a detour to leave, but you would see it because you would see headlights. It was nighttime. You see headlights. If you're driving at nighttime, you're going to see headlights a really long way away. So if people left, doesn't matter which route they took to leave, you would see them leave. So I just don't buy it. How can she be saying that there was nobody leaving at 12:30, or she saw nobody leaving at 12:30, and yet we've got these other people, these campers, who are saying that there was a mass exodus at 12:30? Which is it?
And because I didn't really know anyone there anymore, I had asked my ride to take me home because I just felt kind of uneasy being there without people I knew. So I left. My ride had parked their car all the way back on the paved road, so we had to walk all the way down the dirt road to get back. While we were walking, there was a group of boys walking in the same direction as us, and my ride knew them. I can't remember why he knew them, but maybe school or something, because my ride went to a different school than me. And at the Y intersection, my ride and I went left of the car, and the boys went right because they had parked that way. So a lot of kids had parked over by the water over there, and I'm guessing they were part of the big group of kids who showed up earlier in the night that didn't know where they were going, so they parked down there and walked up when my friend walked up when she showed them how. But most of the cars were up at the actual sanctuary. So yeah, a lot of cars were actually parked up at sanctuary because it's really common for kids to camp out at these parties, especially if they don't have DDs and they don't want to drive home intoxicated. They'll camp there instead and drive home in the morning when they're sober. So that's where a lot of the cars were. I reached my ride's car around 1 a.m. back on the pavement, and I was never passed by a car on the dirt road or saw a car on my walk to my ride. No headlights, nothing.
So it seems like she is trying to establish here that Kiely didn't leave the campground. But she's talking about a period of time between 12:30 and 1, where she's claiming that no cars left, and yet we've got an account of cars leaving en masse at 12:30. And also, like I said, even if one spot was blocked, cars could have gone a different way out to get out. It just seems like a really odd account, and I question the motivation of this account, particularly given that this girl is a close friend of Sammy's. I would like to know what prompted her to call in and give this account, and why she's claiming that the road was blocked and that no one went out, when we know for a fact that cars were leaving en masse at 12:30 at night. Now I have a question, because that's where the account ends on the particular video that this Olivia did. There's a lot of her own narrative following that, where she's drawing her own conclusions from what Elsa says. But that's where Elsa's account ends. And I distinctly remember the part of the account, where she talks about Kiely being drunk and stumbling and falling into a hole. But we didn't hear this in this. So is the video that this Olivia put out, has it been altered since it was originally released? Or did Elsa do another account or interview after this one? I'm a little confused. If someone can clarify that for me, that would be great. I know I'm not imagining it, because we've all had conversations about Elsa saying that Kiely had fallen into a hole. So where is that actual audio? Had I realised that there was only that much of the audio left when I did the original recording, I might have split it a bit more evenly. But like I said, I was expecting the account of Kiely falling down a hole. Anyway, I'll be interested to know your thoughts on this account that Elsa has given. Do you think that there was a car at the intersection? I can't be 100% certain that there wasn't, but it seems like a really, really convenient narrative to introduce. And there's a few things with it which make me question it. I certainly question her saying that there were no cars leaving between 12:30 and 1 a.m. because, like I said, we have a first-hand account of people who witnessed cars leaving en masse at 12:30. Something's not adding up here. And I think this was the thing that originally made me question Elsa's account, because it didn't gel. It didn't fit with what we already knew. And it also seemed that she went into a lot of detail over these kids that were blocking the Y intersection, but without telling us anything particularly significant. There's no really, really specific descriptions of that. It's just a general account of kids blocking an intersection, messing around, fighting around a car, having loud music. If it was that significant, you would actually expect some more specific details about it, because it would be something that obviously had an impact on her. So it would be there, seared in her brain, and she would give more details about it. That's just my thought. Like I said, I'd love to hear people's thoughts on this. And if someone can direct me, if there is another account by Elsa, let me know, because we definitely seem to have missed a bit. Anyway, let's keep fighting for Kiely. And if it means listening to some of these accounts, even if they are not so credible, that's what we need to do.